And we are live with Top Lenders in America with Craig Sanders. Good to see you, man.
Hey man, how are you?
I am good. Super excited about this. I love what we were chatting about a little bit earlier. Craig Sanders, he's with First Trust Home Loans right across the lake from me in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I met Craig through, we've got some mutual friends, and somehow I got on some of your educational material and I just love what you're doing. And then we reached out and we were talking about this real estate market, and you said some stuff that just I talked to a lot of lenders that I haven't heard anyone else say. And so I'm really excited to share this with the people I know and the people you know today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. And we were one of the questions I like to ask is, what are you seeing successful buyers doing in this market? What are you seeing like successful realtors doing? And you mentioned the numbers with real estate, and I heard you say the successful realtors are the ones that believe in it, and the buyers are the ones that are getting deals right now. And you shared kind of some
Right.
numbers, and could you share that? Because when I was hearing that, I was like, I want to write that down. That's blowing my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. You are 100% right in that smart buyers are buying today and they're taking advantage of the market today. And we're gonna talk about some numbers because I think a lot of people say that, and I think everybody's heard that by now. And it probably starts to sound like a sales pitch, but when you understand the rationale behind it, then you can go, okay, all right, that makes sense. And I always try to put this disclaimer out there. When I say you should buy now, that doesn't mean I'm saying everybody in America should buy a home today. There are circumstances that make sense to wait. And this is just me, right? But if somebody just got married a week ago, my recommendation is why don't you live together renting somewhere for at least a year, learn what you like about each other as far as living arrangements and things like that. Again, I'm not one that's like everybody needs to buy right now. What I'm saying is if it makes sense to buy now, or what a lot of buyers are doing is saying I'm going to wait, let's look at that, because the math behind that really indicates that, you know what, it makes sense to buy now. So there's lots of reasons that are not just numbers related necessarily, but some of them are right now there's not as many people buying homes. Just I know you don't hear a lot of mortgage people and realtors say that, but it's true. A lot of people are sitting on the fence. And so you've got less competition right now, which I think most people think that only equates to a lower sales price. And I don't agree with that. Less competition means I get to buy the home that I actually want. Okay. And I know for a fact that a lot of people in 2020 and 2021 purchased homes that they otherwise wouldn't have purchased because they had to buy a home. Maybe they were being relocated for their job and there wasn't anything available. So, with that in mind, the buy now philosophy is really about being able to find the home that you actually want today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How many stories did I hear of? I remember one of my real estate friends. It was in Nashville, and he had a team, and his team put in 33 offers that weekend. This was a couple years ago. Three got accepted.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was happening in that market. That means
Yeah, I
like
believe
30
that.
people wanted a home and they couldn't get it. But now when I've got clients that want a house here, like we can get the house that we want. I love that description. I haven't heard that, but it's true.
And the reality is, a lot of those people that bought in 2020 and 2021 and did not buy the home that they want, they're going to be buying another home in the next year or so. And so, anyway, so my point is if you find the home that you like today, that's a good thing. Now, what buyers will say is, yeah, but I know interest rates are up. And compared to where they were in 2020 and 2021, and even the early part of 2022, yeah, interest rates are up. It's a fact. There's no way around that. But here's how the numbers bear out as it relates to buying now or waiting. Okay. And the one assumption that we have to make, and we can delve into this deeper, but just go with me for a second. The one assumption we have to make is home prices are continuing to rise, and they will continue to rise. Okay. And I don't think that's a stretch. I don't think that's me jumping on a limb to say that, because that's what's taking place today. And that will continue to take place. And there's a very simple reason for that: it's supply and demand. There's just simply not enough houses available. Even though it's true to say that there's less people buying today, there's not even enough homes available today for those people buying. And this year will probably end with home prices increasing. There's a lot of theories about this, but somewhere between 5 and 10%. Okay, I think that's safe. I wouldn't bet much higher than 10, and I wouldn't bet much lower than 5. So just looking at the numbers, that if we assume home prices are going to increase year over year by 5%, which I think that's fairly conservative, let's just look at an example of potentially buying a home today or waiting. Okay. I'm going to give you some numbers if you'll trust my math, because these numbers are correct. I'm going to give you some numbers. So let's just say somebody's looking at a sales price of 585, and let's say they're going to put 10% down. Okay. And so they're going to have a loan amount of 526.5. All right. And let's just say their interest rate today is 7.375. Okay. Now, understand something. We could use a starting rate, whatever you want. These numbers really don't change all that much. So just go with me for the 7.375. That's a principal and interest payment of $3,636. All right. For the person who says, yeah, but you know what, I'm going to wait. Okay. If they wait 1 year and the home price increases by 5%, that means now for that exact same home, they're going to pay $614,000, $250. Okay. If they're still putting 10% down, their new loan amount is $552,825. Okay. So they're starting out with a loan amount of $552,825. So that's more than what their loan amount could have been the previous year, which was $526,500. Okay. Now that's real money. All right. So the way to think about it is, when they go to sell that house, that's roughly $26,000 less they're getting. Roughly speaking, that's $26,000 less they're going to walk away with. If the interest rate goes up 1% from today until then, they're looking at a principal and interest payment of $4,201. So that's obviously not good. Okay. If the rate is exactly the same, they're looking at a total payment of, principal and interest payment of $3,818. So they're actually, if the interest rate stays exactly the same and they wait a year, now their payment's going up from $3,636 to $3,818. Now, listen, that's not huge numbers, but the point I'm trying to illustrate is, if the market doesn't change at all as far as interest rates go, and you wait a year, you've just cost yourself money. You've cost yourself an additional $26,000 on the front end, and also on a monthly basis, your principal and interest payments higher. By the way, just a side note, we're talking about principal and interest because taxes and insurance, relatively speaking, are going to be the same either way. Technically, as the home values go up, those things rise a little bit, but the assumption is it's the same either way, whether you buy now or then. Okay. But the person who wanted to wait says, hey, you know what? I'm going to wait, because what if interest rate goes down 1%? What would that do for me waiting? And for that, the principal and interest payment is $34.48. Okay. Now that's less than $36.36. So that's where the person would go, see, Craig, that's what I'm talking about. That right there, that's why I need to wait, because I think the rate's going to be lower. However, here's the problem. The problem with that is, if someone else at the exact same time decided to buy today and they bought it at the 585, they started out with a 526.5 loan amount, and then they turn around a year from now and refinance that loan down to that same rate that the other person was waiting to get, okay, they would be looking at a principal and interest payment of $3,300. Okay. So the person who waited a year opted for a payment of $34.48 in a better scenario, right? Lower interest rate. The person who bought today actually got to take advantage of the exact same rate, but guess what? They started out with that lower sales price. So their principal and interest payment is 3,300. So it's less. Okay. And here's the thing. So people say, yeah, but there's a cost to refinance. Okay. Actually, I base my numbers rolling in an additional $2,500 for just a number to use for fees for the refinance. So someone that buys today and then waits and excuse me, buys today and then refinances a year from now, their loan amount's 529 because that's accounting for maybe some cost to refinance, and they've got a $3,300 payment. The person who waited and got the rate at 6.375, they're starting out with a loan amount of 552,825, and their payment's higher, 3,448. Okay. If they wait 2 years, those numbers are even worse, right? Because the home prices are continuing to rise. The only scenario that someone could just strictly looking at it from the standpoint of, you know what, I think it makes more sense to wait just strictly for the numbers is the scenario of home prices dropping, home prices going negative. And here's the problem with that. That's the one scenario out of all of these that's least likely to happen, right? We already have a supply issue to begin with. So the idea that home prices are going to go down dramatically over the next 12 months, just not very likely. It can happen. Don't get me wrong. I never say, oh, that would never, ever happen. Of course it could happen. It's not likely to happen. And for people that say home prices can't keep going up, actually they can. And history will show you that's actually what they do. Not only can they, that's pretty much all they've ever done, except for a few scenarios. If you go back and look at the housing prices history, and the thing is, and I can't stress this enough, we're under supply today, right? So anyway, so supply and demand issue, that is the issue with home prices, bottom line. So anyway, does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And that's what I've seen, that it really across the country where supply and demand, like there was a lot of builders that stopped for a while, and we've got so many people moving to Nashville. And yeah,
Yeah,
we've got more people than we do houses. And one of the things that I've noticed in 2008, 2009, people wanted to buy. The banks just literally weren't giving them money. And
right.
now, like, we've got people that want to buy and they're able to get loans, or they're selling their house in California and moving here and paying mostly cash or cash. So we still have buyers, and we've still got, I call them political refugees. I've got so many clients that are moving from other states because they want the freedom
Right.
and the low taxes and everything from Tennessee. We've had a lot of people moving here for a while, and it looks like it's speeding up the last few years. And the new builders can't, what I found, they can't keep up.
And I think sometimes people like miss this point. There's only two ways to fix an undersupply issue. Okay. And that is either build more houses or, and I say this somewhat jokingly, obviously, kill off a large percentage of your population. Because that's the only two things that do it, right? I'll give you an example. If my wife and I decided we were going to sell our house, some people would look at that and go, there you go, Craig's contributing to the inventory, right? Because him
Right.
and Craig and Lindsay put their house up for sale. Here's the problem. Do you think she's going to let me go live in a car? I've thought about it before. Hey, think how less expensive it'd be, right? But she's going to be like, no, man, we got 3 kids. So we're going to go buy another home. We're inventory neutral. Okay. Again, kill off population or build more homes. That's the only two ways you fix it. And builders, I think, have learned since 08, 09, and a lot of them are like, hey, I'm not going to do that again, right? I'm not going to step so far out on a limb that I've got so many spec homes ready to go. And maybe to a certain extent, maybe builders are being too conservative right now. Like maybe they should step out a little bit. But here's the other thing with that. Banks are also tightening up a lot of their credit guidelines for new construction homes. So again, I say all that to say, I don't think the supply issue is going to change anytime in the next few years. So home prices will continue to rise. And that gets back to, is there a cost of waiting? Absolutely, there's a cost of waiting. And I tell people all the time, it's not my mortgage payment. If you choose to take a higher mortgage payment 12 months from now, that's great. That's your choice. But I do want people to understand that's what you're choosing. So, you know,
Yeah. What I love about that is, like, that makes sense. And I've been trying to make sense of what's happening with the market. And I'm looking for another rental property myself. I'm keeping my eyes open, and I've had that question. But to just see the numbers, like a 5% difference in price, if someone could tell me, hey, I'm going to save you five or give you 5% more when you sell, like I will take that all day. And so to actually see
Yeah.
the numbers of if I wait 12 months, add 5% onto my debt owed, or 5%, I get 5% less when I sell. That's 12 months, 24 months. It's not any better. And I also like that if the rates go up, I'm going to be glad that I've got a house now. If the rates go down, I can refinance, and I can look and
Yeah.
be like, does it make sense with the equity I gained or lost?
Absolutely. A lot of people don't realize this, which I get it. I wouldn't realize it either if I wasn't in the industry. But in the US, these fixed rate mortgages that we're allowed to do is one of the best hedges against inflation. And other countries don't necessarily have that ability, right? If you're living in another country, in most instances, you're not going to get a 30-year fixed rate loan. You can here, right? That's a huge, huge hedge against inflation. And I tell people this all the time. And so you tell me if you disagree with this. I don't get on social media a ton. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't spend a ton of time scrolling social media. But when I do, I don't see a lot of posts from people complaining that there's not a lot of homes available. And do you know why that is? I've got a theory. Would you like to hear my theory?
I'd like to know your theory.
They're not looking. That's because most people right now are not looking. If interest rates drop down to 5.5% next week, and now all of a sudden, all of these people sitting on the fence started looking for homes, what you would see next is you would see nothing but complaining on social media about how there's no homes available, right? And
Right.
so that's the thing that I think sometimes gets missed with buyers right now is, hey, you don't realize that it's undersupply because you're not hearing everybody else talk about it. Guess what? They're not looking. If they were looking, they would know the same thing that you know, which is, hey, it's not like there's a plethora of loans of houses available. So I say that to say that's why you should be looking right now because it's a great opportunity for a buyer. And I'm telling you, interest rates drop and we're going to get back to some of the same type levels. I won't say exactly the same, but same type levels I saw in 2021. And the reality is that wasn't a lot of fun for buyers. Sellers loved it. That was not a
Right.
lot of fun for buyers, though.
Yeah. I remember a house that I called on. It was listed for 1.1 million, and before it hit the market, they said we accepted an offer for 1.2. The buyers did not see it, and there's zero contingencies with 100 grand earnest money. Like
Yeah.
that was extreme, but that wasn't abnormal. That type of stuff just a little bit of time ago. So when you talk about
Yeah. No.
5% a
Yeah.
year from now, that's without bidding wars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now I do try to be upfront with people and say, listen, I think rates will be lower in the next couple of years. I think mortgage rates will be coming down as what the Fed is doing starts to take more of an effect on the economy. And we can debate till we're blue in the face about is the economy really as strong as it seems? It doesn't matter. The data is indicating that the economy is still very strong. That's how the market's reacting to it. Inflation is up. Mortgage rates are up as a result as the Fed policies start to have more of an impact on the economy. And I don't know exactly when that is. I'm always upfront with people to say, hey, look, you know what? Earlier this year, I would have told you it would have started in the middle part of this year. And I definitely think I missed that, right? Like, and I wasn't alone. There was a lot of people that missed that, but it's coming. It will eventually take effect. I tell people all the time, the Fed has never lost a fight that they fought. Okay. So if it right now looks like they're losing, that doesn't mean they've lost. It just means it might take a little bit longer. But when they get inflation under control, mortgage rates will come down. And that's not me making some statement that's, oh my gosh, he's the only one that knows that. No, that's how it works. Mortgage rates were up because inflation is up. Mortgage rates will ease back down when inflation starts to ease back down and continues. Because you can make the argument say it started to ease down, but you got to see a pretty good market improvement. And my belief is it will happen. So, yes, I think rates are coming down. I also think that's what puts this time period so advantageous for buyers is they can get the house they want, they can get it at a price that's not going to be 5 or 10% elevated, and then they can still turn around and refinance when rates do come down.
Yeah. And I'm still getting now, I'm getting some closing costs for my clients, and I'm getting concessions, and we're having home inspections and appraisal contingencies. I love this because I'm not
You're
seeing homes
right.
sit really long. A home can be on the market 2 to 4 weeks, and the sellers want to sell and the buyers want to buy. And it's not completely one sided like a hippo on a seesaw like it was
Right.
a year ago.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's definitely more of a balanced market for buyers, which I mean, that's healthy. That's a healthy market. But listen, saying that that's a healthy market, so we don't want it to go back to just a frenzy where sellers can get whatever they want. It's all well and good to say that, but the reality is you can't stop that from happening. If when rates come down, a lot of buyers jump off the fence, which is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to get back into just straight up sellers market. So anyway, not to
Yeah.
beat a dead horse. I know it sounds like if it sounds like I'm passionate about this, I am because I know the numbers and I know how it works. So
I love that. Yeah. And when you shared that, it just made so much sense that I wanted to hear it more in depth. And if someone wants to reach out to you and they'd like you to run numbers potentially for them, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
yeah, absolutely. You can call the office 615-498-LOAN. So that's 615-498-5626. Also go to my website, 498loan.com, 498loan.com, and shoot us an email. Nowadays, there's about 10 billion ways to get in touch with me. Social media, whatever works. We love talking to clients. We love talking to people about what their numbers would look like. And so we'd love to do that anytime we can.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Craig. This was a great episode of Top Lenders in America, and we'll see everybody later. Bye.
Awesome.